Hi there, I'm Cheryl, and today I'm going to show you how I made this adorable little card. And, oh, cat hair. I'm surprised that my flowers aren't chewed up too. So I have a lot of things to go over in this video, so let me get on with this. You need some Whisper White thick cardstock. I have a piece here that's 7 by 10. I have another piece that I cut this this beautiful die out from, and that was 5 by 7. I have a piece of Blushing Bride cardstock and another piece of the thick Whisper White. That's what our little girl will be cut out from. And I have a strip that just fell on the floor, and that's 1 by 4.5 inches. And let's see, I'm using the Feather Together stamp set, and I'm using the Thinking of You stamp from that. I'm also using from it's a Gorjuss Girls. Let me just get this out real quick here so you can see this. This is hard to, wait a minute. No, it's got to come out the top. These are hard to get out of there. They're little thingies. Okay, and it's this little girl right here, the one she's sitting on a tree branch. And then I used my Heartfelt Creations. I'm using the Classic Rose, the stamp and the die, and the eyelet lace frames. All this is going to be down below, so I'm going really fast here. Now I want to show you something before we get any further, and if this is something that's going to bother you, then you'll want to stop right now, because when you're embossing on vellum, the vellum tends to crinkle up a little bit, and that's okay if it's just, you know, it just ripples a little bit, because we're going to shape the flowers anyway. Oh, that's the other thing, but I'll get back to that. Never mind. You can see on my dies there's a little bit of these of the embossing has gotten on there, and it was really easy to pick out what was inside the little holes in it, but these all need to be picked out. And if that's something that's going to bother you, don't make this card, because it's probably going to happen to you too. The other thing is we're hand shaping these, because I do not like using embossed flowers in the shaping molds. I have the shaping molds, I love them, but I do not like using the embossed items in the shaping molds. So I've got a whole bunch of markers here. I'll be using let's see, this is a new color, Granny Apple Green. This is a returning color, Flirty Flamingo. I've used Soft Suede and Crumb Cake, and Blushing Bride, and I also have my Aqua Painter. We'll be needing that. Using the Designer's Dries Clear. I'm using adhesive foam tape, and both the large and the small dimensionals. I have a big old piece of vellum here on the bottom. My Embossing Buddy. I'll be using the Whisper White pigment ink. Any white pigment ink will work though. Flirty Flamingo and Blushing Bride. I have off on the side here, I have my flower shaping mat, ball stylus, and I also have a skewer for poking the flowers together. But you'll see that I have white embossing powder, and I also use my Fiskars tag punch, which we'll be using this one. I'll show you how I use that to make my little tag on there. So let's get started on this card, and I'll start with the little girl, and we're just going to stamp her, get her out. And I need a great big oh dear, where is my great big, let's see, will this one fit? Will she fit on there? Oh, she'll fit on there. Okay. I have a great big thing stamp block. Okay, so I get that piece of paper out that we're going to stamp her on. And I also use Tuxedo black. Da 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 da. And where did my Tuxedo black ink go? Huh. I usually have that sitting right here on my table. Oh, this is not good. Oh, there it is. I found it. Alright, so we'll stamp her in the Tuxedo black. I'm using the Stampin' Right markers. You can color her in any medium that you like to use. If you prefer the alcohol markers, use them. I actually started out using alcohol markers, but the color for the dress that I liked, of course, that marker needed to be refilled, and I didn't feel like refilling it, stopping my creative process on this card and refilling it, so I switched over to the Stampin' Up markers. Oh, that's not a very good impression. Let me just flip that over and do this again. So I'm trying to rush, and that's not always the best thing. Sometimes on these big stamps, if you rub it first and then blot it, it works better. Okay. So we're going to be fussy cutting this little girl out, so it doesn't matter how she's positioned on your piece of paper. Okay. But Memento black is the ink to use if you're going to use alcohol markers for sure. Okay, so we've got her stamped. She's not perfect, but she's good enough. So I'm just going to show you how I did her face, because that is just something a little different. I used the Blushing Bride ink pad. Oh, let me squeeze out some. Not much on my lid part here. So I've got my little puddle of Blushing Bride, and I'm going to use my aqua painter. And we want just to get a little bit of water. You don't want a lot, but this is makes a pretty skin tone for a Caucasian little girl anyway. And I'm just gonna go over her face and her arms here with the Blushing Bride. And I'm not getting too crazy with shading. I am going to go back. I'm going to put a little more Blushing Bride on her cheeks. And just a little bit here. Her knees need a little bit of color there. Okay, so I will put a little bit at the top of her, a little bit more color at the top of her arms. And I'm going to give her just big rosy cheeks here. And you don't want to work this paper too much because this is just cardstock. You could use watercolor paper. Okay, so I would let this sit and dry, and then continue with the coloring. I used Crumb Cake and Soft Suede for both her hair and the tree branch. I used the Flirty Flamingo to color every other stripe on her socks. Oh, I missed her neck. I just noticed that. Okay. And I'll be using apple green on her dress and this little leaf here. So I'm going to do all the rest of that coloring off camera and fussy cut it. Okay. So now we will go on to the flowers. Okay. So there's my piece of vellum. I'm going to use my Whisper White. Get my stamps out. And I'll need that big block again. And I need two of each of these. And then I will need two of these plus one of this size flowers. So I'll do that, and I'm going to be doing that in sections. And make sure you use your Embossing Buddy. I generally keep mine right on top of my Versamark ink because that's usually what I use it with. Just so that I don't forget to use it, because what a mess that makes. Okay. I shook off the excess. So let's see, can I move those and put both of these on at one time? Yes, I can. I can even get them a little closer. Look at that. So I'll ink that up with my craft, or my pigment, white pigment ink. Okay, and then just stamp it just like you normally would. Okay, and that's probably very hard for you to see because it's white on white, but I do have my flowers on there. Now I'm going to quickly get my embossing powder, and I have my little container here to put it in, and I'll sprinkle that with my embossing powder. You can use pigment inks, you know. And get that covered real well. Okay. Now I'll take these and go and emboss, you know, and heat them. When you're embossing on vellum, keep your heat tool a good distance away. Keep it moving, and just don't get real close. And as soon as you see that shine come up and you know it's embossed, stop, because you can really crinkle up your cardstock, and then it's just no, or your vellum, and then it's just no good. So I'm going to cut out now. I'm going to go emboss these. I'm going to clean my stamp. I'm going to, you know, and I'll stamp all of them and emboss those also. I'm going to clean my stamp because you don't want that craft, that pigment ink to dry on your stamps. And finish coloring the girl. I'll fussy cut her out, and then I'll be back to show you how I colored in my flowers, and then I'll probably cut out again and go die cut them. So I'll be back in a bit. Okay, I'm back. I got a lot of stuff done while I was gone. So let me show you how I did these flowers. I have one big one here, and those are the 3 pieces we need for that. And then I have one of the smaller ones, and those are the 3 pieces for that one. So what I did was, with the Flushing Bride marker, I just colored in all the petals on these flowers, just like, oh, you want to do it on the side that has the embossing on it. So this does 2 things. It adds color to them, and it also makes them a little damp from the marker. Yeah, that's the right side. And that'll help to shape them a little bit. You can see they're starting to, this one's starting to curl up a little bit, just putting the marker on it. So for the plain white ones, I did dampen them just a little bit with a spritzer before I shaped them. Okay, almost done here. with the Blushing Bride. Now if you want yours to be a little bit of a more pastel color, you could do this on the back of them, but I wanted quite a bit of color. And I am using this tip on both of these markers. So now just all around the outside edge of the petals, I'll just add some of the Flirty Flamingo. Oh, I wanted to show you. I saved this. Now this is what will happen if you get your heat gun too close to your vellum. But don't be discouraged. I'd like to say that I did that by mistake, or that I did it purposely to show you what happens, but I just got a little carried away with my heat gun, my heat tool, and got too close to the vellum. So that's what happens. So it might distort a little bit, no matter how careful you are, but as long as it's not too much, then it'll be fine. You might notice that these flowers seem to be a little cut a little oddly. That's because the vellum did warp just a little bit. And sometimes it helps to heat it from the back a little bit and then from the front. But it's no big deal. Okay, almost finished. There we go. So now those are all colored in. I'll start with the larger flower. And I'm just poking. Actually, I'm not poking, I'm pressing. You don't go stabbing at it, because you don't want your vellum to crack. So you want a fairly good size ball stylus. You don't want a teeny tiny one. Okay, and I'm doing that on the back side. And you might notice that I'm getting a little bit of this embossing is flaking off. Well, that's fine. There'll still be plenty left on them. And I'll keep going on the small one while I've got my stylus in my hand and I know where it is. On the small petals you can just, one poke is fine. On the big ones you might need to poke it a couple times. Okay, now we're going to flip them all over to the right side. And I'm going to use my skewer here. I'll just press them in the middle to pop them up. And you see the petals go all kind of wonky and stuff. Don't worry. That just makes the flowers even more fluffy. That's what we want, fluffy flowers. Okay, so those are all done and we can glue them together. We'll just put some glue down there. We want the petals offset. And I'll just poke that down with my skewer. And same on this one. I use the pokey end on this part now. See, so that really like pops everything up. Okay, and we'll do our smaller colored one. Now most of the time-consuming stuff is the prep work. You know, getting things embossed and colored in, and once you get all that done, this goes together pretty quickly. Okay, so there, I got my flowers all ready to go on the card. Let me just close my glue up. And that's the Designer Dries Clear glue I'm using on this. Okay, so you see I got my little girl all colored in. I also stamped the Thinking of You and did one side of this. So let me show you how I did that. You just take your piece of your 1-inch wide cardstock, and this is the hard part, is threading it in here. Let's see. You just, oh, I'm in the wrong one. Okay, so you just take that and thread it in like so and line it up where you want to cut, and you can make any size label or banner, whatever you want to call that. I guess it would be, I don't know, it could be either one, a label or a banner. So now I'm going to do some sponging. I'll sponge with the, so it's Flirty Flamingo stamping. I'm going to sponge with the Flirty Flamingo all along the edge here real quick. That just, I don't know, it just adds a little something. I always like to sponge around the edges of things like this. And also on the piece of Blushing Bride cardstock that we'll be using as a mat. Sponged all around the edge of that also. I suppose I could have done this ahead of time too, but I didn't think about it. So we'll do it now. Okay, so that's ready. So I think we can start to put this card together. So let me bring in my piece of my Thick Whisper White that I've folded, and let me grab my bigger thing of the Designer Dries Clear. You could use just about any glue you want to do this. You need tacky glue, Tombow, whatever you have. This is nice, you know, Stampin' Up! Does a nice weight cardstock, so you don't have to worry about it getting wet and having little warped marks where all of your where you've applied your glue. So I find it easier to stand the card up like that to get it all lined up, and that covers the front nicely. Then there's no white showing around the edges, and then I've got my bit of my lace here, and it's got some nice wide spots on it that you can put glue. I'm not hitting everything, just enough to hold it on my card. You want to work fairly fast because you don't want your glue to dry before you put it down. And obviously I can't talk while I'm gluing. Okay, so that's enough glue on there. And this lovely, lovely lace bit will go on right on the front here. This is a new one from Heartfelt Creations. So pretty. So there. Oh, look how nice that is. Okay, so next we'll put our little girl down. And I used foam tape to put her down because she's kind of wide. If you don't have foam tape, then of course you can use Dimensionals, or you could cut bits of craft foam and use that. Now I'm straightening my tape out first because it wants to curl back up. Okay, so that's a good bit there. I'll put another nice piece over here. And let's see. I'm going to need to trim a bit. I'll use that piece down here on her feet. And then this piece can go on the other side of the branch. We don't want that to show. We don't want it. Oops, don't want it too close to the edge. All right, that's good. Just peel all that off. Maybe. I've had this for a while, so I hope it works. I had another roll of this foam tape. Oh dear, it's not seeming to work. Well, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to use that Designer's Dry Clear because it will stick to just about anything. I'm going to put it on the back here. Hopefully it'll stick onto this. We'll see, right? We shall see. And I put my little girl right here. Oh dear, I got oh, I got some of the Flirty Flamingo. I had it on my fingers. Oh no. Let's see, where did my... See, I'm going to grab an aqua painter and see if I can't blend that out a little bit so it's not so bad. She's got just big old nasty Flirty Flamingo marks on her face. Oh, look at that, it's working. Nice. I caught it in time. There, so that looks much better now. Okay, and then we have this little banner thing. You know, I didn't even attach it on my other one because I wasn't sure where to put it. I was thinking I could put it here, or I could put it here, or I could put it down here below where the flowers will be. So I'm just going to tuck it in right here. And I'll take my flowers, and I attached those with the Dimensionals. And just stick them on the back. And let's see, I put one right here. Now, where did my skewer go? Because I want to give that a little poke in the center. Make sure that Dimensionals adhere down well. And then I have another big colored one. I'll put a dimensional on the back of that one. And that will go right here. Give that a little poke. And then I need to switch. I'm going to switch to my minis. My little mini Stampin Dimensionals for the smaller flowers. Just stick them all on the back here. I'm using these because they're not real flat on the back. So if they were flat, I could easily glue them. Peel that backing off. And I didn't put a sentiment on the inside of my card. Figure once I know why I'm thinking of somebody, then I'll add that. I can add a bit of paper, or I could print out a sentiment. I can say whatever I want, and just tape or glue that to the inside. I found that my printer will take the regular Whisper White cardstock, no problem. I can feed that in. So the regular weight cardstock from Stampin Up works in my printer. The thick does not. And that's it. Our card is done except for attaching this and putting a sentiment in the center. So I don't know, where should I put that? Should I put it here? Should I put it here? Oh, let me get that under the leaf. Let's see, I could put it there. I could put it down here. Well, maybe I'll put this one down here, and I'll put the other one on the sample card. I'll attach it up here. So I think I'll use some dimensionals on that too. Just to pop it up a little bit. 3 should be plenty. Yes, I can't talk when I'm peeling the backs off the dimensionals either, I guess. And I think I want that just a little bit under the flower there. Like that. There we go. So that's it. Our card's finished. Isn't she cute? So, I hope you've liked this video. If you had, be sure to hit that like button below. If there are more videos, if you'd like to see more of my videos, hit that subscribe button. If there are any Stampin Up products you'd like to purchase, you can. I hope you'll do that through me, and you can do that either on my Facebook page or my website. And as always, I have all the tools and materials that I use listed down below. So y'all take care, stay safe, and happy stamping.